Hi, welcome to my kitchen. My name is Sue. You know, it's summer now. Days are getting hot, and sometimes you just don't feel like cooking inside. And it's fun to use the barbecue. Have people outside on your deck or your patio. If you've got a pool, you can cool off while the food is cooking. It's just wonderful. And you know what? Greeks have been barbecuing food for a long, long time. And one of their best dishes, very famous, but also very easy, is Souvlakia, or Shish Kabab. It can be made with beef, pork, or traditionally lamb. It's delicious, it's simple, easy to make, and that's what we're going to focus on today. Just to remind you, you can find this recipe and all the recipes we've used on this show on our website. Check us out, Tweeton.com. Not only can you find our recipes, but you'll be able to have videotapes available through the website. And you can email me. I love to hear from people who watch the show. It's always fun to get a message from someone out there who's seen the show. And you can find links to other sites about the Greek culture. So be sure to look us up, Tweeton.com. On to the recipe. To make souvlakia, you really don't need a whole lot of ingredients, just a few. First of all, you need meat. You need 2 to 3 pounds of very lean beef, pork, or lamb, boneless, and it needs to be cut up into anywhere from 1.5 to 2-inch cubes to make the kebabs. You need oregano. You need garlic, of course, some lemon, some good quality olive oil. You'll need either dry red wine or dry white wine. And then if you want, you can also add vegetables, any kind of vegetable you like. I'm going to use mushrooms, bell peppers, cherry tomatoes, and onions today. But you could add some squash, even some eggplant. Anything that you think tastes good if it's not just completely cooked, because on the barbecue it won't get completely cooked all the way through. Obviously, the first step is to take care of the meat, get the meat prepared. If you can find it already prepared for you, go ahead and get it. A month ago, I found some boneless leg of lamb on sale, and I bought it just thinking of this, knowing that one of these days I was going to want to make souvlakia, and this is the perfect thing. It's all wrapped up for a leg of lamb roast, but obviously I don't want it all rolled up and wrapped up because I want to cut it into cubes. So I'm just going to remove this. Remove this webbing and get the leg of lamb on the cutting board so I can get to it. Now, leg of lamb is the traditional meat for souvlakia, and that's what most Greek people would do. They would buy an entire leg of lamb and bone it and cube it. Takes a little bit of work, but this was a special treat. It wasn't something that was done every day. In fact, we had souvlakia usually 2, maybe 3 times a year because it was so difficult and so time consuming. At least the bone's taken care of. Now all I have to do is just worry about getting rid of some of the fat like this and just cutting it up into cubes. So here goes. And as you work with it, just try to remove as much fat as you can. The meat's going to marinate in a mixture that has olive oil, so you really don't need a lot of extra fat to keep this meat moist. All right, so just simple. try for 1.5 to 2 inch cubes. Obviously, they're not going to come out perfect because no piece of meat is perfect. It's muscle, and it's just not a nice square thing that you can cut up into perfect little rectangles or perfect squares, but you just be approximate. For me, this brings back memories of church picnics in Los Angeles. At least 2 or 3 times a year, our church would have picnics. They were fun. We'd have them at one of the local parks in Los Angeles. And of course, we brought the usual picnic fare. Some people brought fried chicken. Sometimes we had some hot dogs and some hamburgers, mainly for the kids. But I'll tell you one thing, every family in that Greek church brought a big container filled with marinated meat, Souvlakia, because that was the star. That was what made our picnics. And boy, did it smell good, and boy, did it taste good. I have wonderful memories of those days. What was really fun was that after we ate, kids would go play on the playground. The men would go play baseball on the baseball diamond. The women, of course, were busy cleaning up. And the grandmas, the yayas, they would all get on a blanket and sit there in the warm sun with their long shirt dresses, their cotton stockings, their hair parted down the middle with buns. I mean, they looked so cute, just a huge group of older grandmas. It was a wonderful, wonderful memory, the food and the fellowship. And you can duplicate something like this for yourself in your own backyard. Okay, you can see I'm just removing more of the fat from the leg of lamb and getting ready to cube this piece up. This is the hardest part, really, preparing the meat. However, I know that kebabs of any kind are very, very popular, and you can usually buy them already prepared, the meat already cut up for you. You just have to pay a little bit extra. But if you're willing to do that, hey, go ahead. Then you don't have to work as much. Just one reminder, the recipe calls for 2 to 3 pounds of lean meat, whether it's beef, pork, or lamb. Now that's meat that has been freed of any fat or whatever. So your end result, this thing right here, your end result should be 2 to 3 pounds. If you get a 3-pound, very, very small portion of a leg of lamb and then you cut out the bone and you cut out the fat, you're really not going to have much left. So be sure that you've got 2 to 3 pounds of solid meat that's ready to go on the skewer. All right, I'm done with this part, and I'm going to just discard this and get myself cleaned up because we've been dealing here with raw meat and it's important to get cleaned up. Now it's time to make the marinade. The first thing you need to do is have 2 to 4 cloves of garlic. Some more. I'm on my last cloves of garlic. You need a cup of dry red wine or dry white wine added to the marinade along with a half cup of olive oil. In goes the wine. Now to add half cup of olive oil, and make sure it's a good quality olive oil too. And to all this, you need to add the juice of 1 lemon. Remove the seeds, of course. The seeds won't hurt the marinade, but they might just accidentally lodge themselves in a piece of meat, and then that would not be a pleasant eating experience. Okay, there's our juice of 1 lemon. To the entire marinade, you want to add at least 1 tablespoon of oregano. A little bit more certainly isn't going to hurt, but at least a tablespoon. What I have here is some dried Greek oregano from my garden. Because now I'm in the process of harvesting everything. So I'm going to crumble that up. And to this entire mixture, you want to add a teaspoon of salt, and pepper to taste. Of course, you're not going to taste this, so just put in anywhere from a half to a teaspoon of pepper, just depending on how much you like pepper. And that's it. It really couldn't be simpler. Just a few delicious ingredients. I'll just stir it up a bit. And you want to pour it over the meat. Now remember, this marinade is for at least 2 pounds up to 3 pounds of meat. Now it may seem like a lot, but the whole point of a marinade is that the meat is as close to completely submerged as possible. I'll just arrange things so your meat is evenly distributed in the marinade. A few minutes on the grill is not going to make leg of lamb tender, but marinating it like this will make it tender and flavorful. Now, to make good Souvlakia, good shish kebab, good kebabs, this needs to marinate 8 hours to overnight. And during the process, you need to pull it out of the refrigerator. Of course, you're going to marinate it in the refrigerator. You need to pull it out of the refrigerator and turn the pieces so that every surface of the meat comes into contact with the marinade and has lots and lots of time to absorb the wonderful flavor and to have the wine and lemon work its wonders as far as tenderizing the meat. So all I'm going to do right now is put some plastic wrap on this and stick it in the refrigerator, and I'm not going to think about it for at least 8 hours, probably not until the next day. An assortment of vegetables is possible. I have some small whole button mushrooms, and I cleaned them carefully and just cut them off right here. They're a perfect size. However, you could use larger mushrooms, but you need to just chunk them up into large enough chunks so they will stay on a skewer. Cherry tomatoes are also nice. In fact, I think they're the only kind of tomato you could possibly use on a skewer. Just make sure you wash them and then remove the stem and the leaves, and that's just fine. For bell peppers and for onions, you're going to need to cut these up, and you need to make them large enough chunks so that they will stay on the skewer. Just be sure you remove the stem and all the seeds and any of this, remove any of this white membrane. Here's, cut them in chunks about this size. Any smaller and they'll just fall right off the skewer. Well, that was easy. Here's my green pepper. Now to my onions. Just cut the ends off. remove the peel. Now, these are fairly small onions. They're not very large. So I'm just going to quarter them, like so. Larger onions, of course, you'd want to cut, like this one's slightly larger, you'd want to cut into more chunks. Yikes. I can hardly see right now. Those onions were really strong. I've got to take a little onion break. Well, here we are. We're all ready. Got the vegetables ready. I've got some meat that has marinated overnight. Here's the meat. It's been marinating all night. I turned it 2 or 3 times. And the olive oil is a little different from other oils. It does congeal a bit upon refrigeration, but that doesn't hurt anything. So, and you can see this meat looks different from the meat that I just put in the refrigerator. It's a little darker. That's because the red wine and the lemon juice have done some of their tenderizing work on this meat. And it smells really good. It's ready to go. All I need to do now is put it on skewers. I have some skewers. You can have long ones, short ones, metal ones, bamboo ones. It really doesn't matter. These, I guess I could say, are family heirlooms. These are some of the skewers that went to those Greek picnics in Los Angeles when I was a little girl. Now, you can approach the skewering in 2 ways. You can make all meat skewers. Just stick the meat on the skewer. Now you can put on as many pieces as will fit, or you can just assume, say, 4 pieces, something like 4 pieces, 6 pieces per skewer would make 1 serving. You can do it like this, all meat, or you can thread some vegetables and meat. Now, for combining meat and vegetables, you would probably need longer skewers. You can do this. You could also do all vegetable skewers, so that keep your vegetables separate from your meat. That's not such a bad idea, because depending on the size of the cut of meat, you might actually need more time for the vegetables than you need for the meat. So it just depends on what you want to do. You can have all vegetables, a combination of vegetables and meat, or all meat. I'm going to finish this batch up and make all meat skewers. Then we'll be ready to do some heavy-duty grilling. You want to come with me? I'm going to a Greek festival. Hi, this is really exciting. We're at this wonderful Greek festival, and there's all kinds of food around me, all kinds of people and things to buy. I can hardly wait to get started. So come on, let's go visit a booth. Look, here we've got Souvlakia, just like my grandma used to make. Delicious sesame twist cookies, yum. And of course, baklava.
Sue, on behalf of all your viewers, I'd like to introduce you to Mrs. Angie Tinios. Angie has been in charge of our pastry baking at all of our food festivals, both for St. Anna's in Roseville and many of the festivals that you know in Sacramento. Here she is, Angie Tinios.
Say a few words.
Thank you very much for being here, and We are very happy that we are in Folsom, and we are having a wonderful time. It's just great to see all these people here. Thank you for coming and attending our festival.
Well, thank you for sharing these wonderful, wonderful recipes.
Thank you.
I tell you, Greeks love to eat sweets, don't
yes,
they?
they do. And it's all with butter. Everything is with butter.
I know, the real thing. Yeah, you don't dare use margarine. I know that. I know that. Well, thank you. It's wonderful meeting you, meeting both of you. Thank you. Now here we have some other Greek pastries. We have diples, which are thin rolls of dough that are rolled, soaked with honey, and topped with nuts. Here we have melomakarina. It's a wonderful, wonderful cookie with slight orange flavor, dipped in honey with some cinnamon, rolled in nuts. In case you're getting a theme here, almost everything that has to do with Greek pastry is got honey, nuts, and a little bit of cinnamon. And over here, the great dunkers, paxamadia, great for coffee, tea, or an afternoon snack. And here we have another favorite of mine, Souvlakia, which is the Greek Easter bread. It's delicious, slightly sweet, and braided. And for Easter, it'll have hard-boiled eggs, red eggs, intertwined with the ropes of dough. And it's wonderful. It's just a wonderful treat. This is galatuburiku. This is my Aunt Stella's favorite dessert. It has phyllo on top and in the bottom, but in the middle there's a delicious, wonderfully sumptuous egg custard. And of course it's covered with one of those wonderful Greek syrups. So it's another delicious, delicious treat. Here I am outside with our grill. I have some vegetable and meat skewers. I have some all vegetable skewers. And I have some all meat skewers. I'm just going to be putting them on the grill. The meat should cook about 10, maybe 15 minutes on each side. You don't want to cook it over too high a heat, medium heat, and you don't want to cook it to the point where it's charred or brown, or too brown, I should say. So just check it, turn it once, and then just check one little piece at the end of one kebab to see if it's done. Have it almost completely well done with just a teeny tinge of pink on the inside. And you can baste the vegetable kebabs with the reserved marinade to give the vegetables a little bit of zip. This is my dog Zeke. He's hanging around because he's hoping I'll accidentally drop one of those kebabs and then he'll get a real treat. It's been about 10 minutes. It's starting to smell good. I'm going to open up and take a look at what I've got here. I think I'll turn them over. Now these are browning. But again, I don't want them to get too charred. I want them to get cooked, but not necessarily charred. Vegetables are looking good too. I think these are just about done. I'm going to start piling them on the plate. Be sure that you put the meat on a plate that's different from the one they came out in. You don't want to contaminate the cooked meat with raw meat juices. The vegetables are looking pretty good too. Nice and charred. Well, that's it. I'm going to take these into the kitchen and get them ready to serve up. Now, of course, if you don't have a barbecue or you just don't feel like going outside, you can always grill these on one of these, a stovetop grill. It's like a frying pan, but it has raised sections, so it cooks like a grill over a burner. You can also use an electric indoor grill, or if you're lucky enough and your stove has a grill attachment, you can use that. You don't have to go outside. And of course, for the barbecue, you can use either propane or coals. Now, it's time to eat. Souvlakia can be served with rice, pilafy. You can serve it with Greek potato salad. You can serve it with tzatziki as an accompaniment, as a condiment. You can serve it with plain unsweetened yogurt. That's delicious too. In fact, you can use the marinade for pork chops, lamb chops, any kind of meat that tastes good grilled. It'll taste even better if you use that marinade. Now, here it is. Doesn't this look just delicious? Try this recipe. Simple, easy, and very, very tasty.